This is a tutorial from the DM perspective on how to use the AD&D framework that I've written that works under Maptools. It should work for 1E or 2E. The only difference between a 1E and 2E is really I use THACO. I don't use the tables. So if you really are set on tables, that'll be the only issue you'll have. But otherwise, THACOs work great. So the first thing you'll see when you start up is you'll see this will pop up. It says, greeting Master, and it tells you who wrote it. If you click on that, it should pop up your mail client. So if you want to send me an email, something doesn't work, or you want to add something, you can click on that and then type up an email. In the campaign macros, you have several down here. We got different sections. The combat section is a THACO table, and we will cover that after I've initialized the token. Health adjusts the health of the token up or down, and I'll show you actually how that looks when we initialize one. Roll initiative, next initiative, and end initiative. The roll will you'll select tokens and you'll click that, and it will roll initiative for each token you have selected. Next is when you're ready to start the combat in the round, you would click next, and it would cycle through each initiative in order as it was supposed to be run. And then if the encounter is finished, you can click end, and it will clear all those out. The initialize token is you'll select a PC or NPC token, click initialize, and we'll see more of that process later. Earned rewards, this is something that's I'm still kind of working on, but basically it'll display to you how much XP the players have earned for that particular encounter since the last time you've flushed the list of XP earned. PC teleport, what this does is when you click on it, if you have a token selected, when you click on PC teleport, it will find every PC token in all the maps you have, and then prompt you, let you select which ones you want, and then it will teleport them to that token. If you don't select a token, it will teleport it to teleport underscore start. That should be on each map, and I'll show you that briefly. You can see that red dot on the map. That's what that is. And then campaign settings is the macro that you use to set settings specific to the framework, and we'll start with that. We'll click on that. You can see several options here. The general section has two. Keep all NPC roles private. This will hide your attack rolls, your saves, any ability checks and whatnot for the NPCs. That way, if you don't want your players to see what your NPCs are doing and you just want to tell them what they, after the result, if they actually see it, you can do that. Similarly, they keep all PC save ability proficiency skill rolls private. That will basically, when the PC rolls a save throw, they won't see the result. It'll send it to you, and you can tell them the result. So if, say, they get charmed and you don't want the whole party to know that they got charmed, you can send them a message privately and say you're charmed. Or if they get poisoned and it's not something that they would notice immediately, you just know that they're poisoned, and they don't, and you can role play it out for them. And like ability checks, you may want to a player maybe trying to use some sort of charisma check or something like that, versus say the town mayor to convince them that they're not lying. And if they roll a 20, they know they failed. They roll a 1, they know they succeeded. You may not want them to know. You may want to role play it out, so you can do that by selecting that. Combat section has two: combat hit target and fumble roll target. These are the rolls on the actual roll. So 1d20. It's not the adjusted value, it is the natural roll. So if they roll a natural 20, they'll get a crit. And in a crit, it doubles the damage. It doesn't double the bonus from strengths and whatnot. Fumble, same but opposite. If you roll a natural 1, you automatically miss, you do no damage. Okay, in the initiative section, you can set the initiative die size. You can use whatever you want here. I use 10 because that's what 2 uses. If you're using 1, you can set that to 6. This other option I don't use, but it's there in case you want it. It's only roll initiative at the start of the encounter instead of every round. So if you just want to roll initiative once, some of the later versions of the game do that. If you want to speed up your game, say you got a lot of people, this may be an option you want to do. I don't find it necessary, especially with the way the initiative system works. But if you want to do that, you can make it to where they roll at the beginning, and then you can, if you want to have them individually roll it later manually, you can, and it would deal with that. Next section is default start map. DM is going to go to library. PCs are going to go to test 1. As you add more maps, they'll have that there. If you want to have a PC go to a specific map, like a tavern or whatever, you can have it automatically drop them in there when they first log in. And then you can see it tells you. The next thing you notice is in the middle of the screen, we have a bunch of tokens. These are library tokens. The lib AD&D token here is the core part of the framework. It manages most of the framework. Lib spells, this manages everything to do with spells. And you can see a list of macros here. The key thing you need to look at here is the one that's called manage main. And we'll go over that once we've covered the rest of these. We'll come back to spells here in a second. Lib equipment, this has everything to do with inventory equipment. And again, you can see down here, another manage main. Lib skills, this manages weapon proficiencies, non-weapon proficiencies, and skills like thief, ability to hide in shadows, move silently, climb walls, that sort of thing. You can add whatever one you want. Again, it has a manage main. libmm is different than these. It just stores a list of attacks that you want to have in a list to use when you initialize a token. And we'll cover that when we do an in-depth NPC token initialize. And libkeeper is not used yet. This is going to be something that works similar to libmm, but for players, I'm still theorizing on how to do that. So we're going to go back to lib spells. Click on that, and we're going to click on manage main, and we'll get a pop-up window. And basically, what it does is it pops up a list of spells that you have in your database. By default, it'll have everything 1 through 9. Level 0 spells. These are cantrips. You can add what you want. There may or may not be more of these here whenever this is released, but for now I've just added a couple just to have some in there. As you can see, you just select the number and it changes the view to that particular level. You go all the way to level 9 and you should see wish. Yep, there it is. And you mouse over it and it tells you what it is and the stats and breaks down. You'll also notice that none of these spells have long descriptions. These are just the basics. It's a lot of work to add all these spells, and I didn't have time to add in descriptions. That'll happen later. Hopefully some person will offer to do that for me. But if you click on it, the spell, it'll bring up the edit, and you can see all the different things that you can set. And you can see it's got a verbal component, no somatic, no material. And if you want to delete it, you would select that right there and then click OK to delete it. You can change the level, you can change whichever school it is, that sort of thing. We'll click cancel. If you want to add a spell, you would click add level 9 spell. And if for whatever reason you wanted to change that, you can absolutely change that to whatever level it's going to be. But say you're going to add a level 9. Here you'd enter the name, set the school, the range, duration, area of effect, all those things you set. And we're not going to add it. You can do the same thing with Divine. You can see there's two different words. On Arcane, we want to switch to Divine. And you can see now we have all our Cleric spells. Clerics only go up to level 7. And everything else works the same. You just mouse over. You can see, add and edit, same thing. Everything works the same. And that is the database of spells that your users or your players will have access to, and that you will have access to whenever you're using scrolls or having NPCs that cast spells, or your players have a spell book with spells in them and they're memorizing. All this, this database is the list of spells that they'll have access to. And same vein, we'll go to lib equipment, click manage main, and it looks similar. And you'll see up here we have different sections. These are the types of objects: book, scrolls, other. There's nothing in other. That's the section in case there's something I didn't think of that players want to add or DMs want to add. Book, scrolls, scroll, spell book, traveling spell book. And this works similar to the way the spell thing did. You click on it and it brings up the edit. You can change these values specific to this type. And if you notice, I mean, look at that. You can see how many pages, whatnot. Right now, pages aren't utilized for anything, but I will eventually make it to where this matters. But for now, it doesn't. You got weight, a brief description, and the category that it's in. You go to weapons, click on a weapon, you edit it, and this looks different. You can see it's tap slashing, its speed factor is 5, no to hit, no damage adjustments, and this is the damage from it. If it was a ranged weapon, you would fill that in, etc. Okay, so goods. Click on boots. These are just boots. Weight, etc. Nothing special on that because it's. But if we click on, say, a backpack, this is a container, and max weight is it can hold is 50. And weight reduction. Right now, the max weight it can hold and weight reduction doesn't do anything. In the future, I will make it to where if the players try to put more than 50 pounds of gear into a backpack, it won't take it. It'll pop up a message and say, do you want to force it? And or something along those lines. Weight reduction, this doesn't do anything yet, but say you want to have a bag of holding and it reduces the weight by 100%. You'd put 100 in that value, and then anything that's put in that would not count towards the weight limit. Right now, it doesn't work like that. Everything has weight. I will eventually make it to where ammo that works. And you can look at that. Name, weight, brief description. Ammo is a consumable item, so that when they list in the equipment list, you can click on the number you have left and use it. Makes it easier to consume those items when you're shooting. Goods also has a similar thing. We'll click on dry rations, and you can see right here, is item consumable? Yes. And so what that means is this is one day worth of it, and so however many they have, that's how many days of dry rations they have, and so they can click on it and use it up. Armor, you can see here, we'll look at chainmail. You have a new section here. It's the armor adjustment that this armor gives. So it's 5, the type. 2E doesn't really have this bulkiness, but 1E does, so it's there. You can see I also have a ring of protection +1, and a ring of protection gives you armor class, so that's why it's in this section. And you can see -1, it's not bulky, at least half pound. Heavy ring. Bracers AC 5. The same thing, it reduces your AC by 5. And so if the PC is wearing one of these items and it's carried by them, not in a bag or something, it'll add that towards their armor. So he could have leather armor and a ring of protection, and you could add a cloak of protection in here as well, and then all that would be added up. Keep in mind that it doesn't keep separation between chainmail versus leather. So if I remember my rules correctly, chainmail plus, say if you're wearing chainmail +1 and had a cloak of protection +1, the cloak +1 wouldn't work towards the armor class. So that is going to be an issue in the future. But for now, basically, if they have a chainmail +1 and a cloak +1, they're both going to be counted towards their armor class. Weapons, pretty simple. That was the manage main for equipment. We'll check out skills now. You can see you have 3 options here. You have proficiencies, weapon proficiencies, and skills. These are these sort of things: riding land, running, religion, research, pottery. You can just click to add one. It's very simple. Set the name. What's the base? What ability score is this skill based on? And then the modifier for it. Like some of them start off at -2. You can edit these by clicking on them. It's the same thing with weapon proficiencies, but it's basically weapon proficiencies only have one thing, a type of weapon. And honestly, the type of weapon doesn't have any effect on anything right now, but I put it in there for now in case I use it later. Let's see, ranged. This may make a difference later. So. And then we have skills. These are the climb walls, find, remove traps, and such. I put in this detect back attack, old school barbarian. And basically all these are is a name. There's no associated anything with it. It's just a straight up name. The base score and such is calculated on the PC side of it. And then our other one is the libmem. This is the default attacks that NPCs will have access to when you first initialize them to automatically add. So you click default attacks down there, and you can see the list of the basic attacks that are on this token. If you want to add more to this list, wing, buffet, tail, swipe, death from above, whatever, just click add. It's you're not associated with a weapon. You'll see where this matters when it comes to PC adding it. But here is where you set the names and to hand. Then you set the damage. And click OK. And now you have a hand-to-hand option. So when you initialize an NPC the first time, you'll have the option to add that to their base attacks from the start. And that's really all the manage options for the libraries. So now we're going to go back to initializing a token. We've reselected our org token that we've placed here, and we're going to click on the in campaign macro section initialize token, and this will list all the attacks that you've got on your libmem. So you have an option to select a whole bunch. We're just going to do bite because it's a org, and click OK. And now we go to main menu. We have various options here that you can set. The ones that we're going to do, it's going to be the hit dice. We're going to give them 3+3. And I'm going to leave the tackle at 20, and you'll see why here in a little bit. Move rate will stay as 18. AC is, I forget, it's 6. And he's large. And he's worth, I don't know how much. We'll give him 120 XP. Oops. The description of the creature. And this is something that your players would see, this player description, and I would put something more than this there, but for now that's what I'm doing. And then giving him 150 XP if you can. You can either let these saves be set based on the hit die of the creature, or you can toggle that and then set it. Treasure section is not really used right now. We'll use that later. Click OK. And then this is why I left the THACO at 20, because it'll tell you configure THACO's 20 is worse than calculate THACO based on hit dice. So it's telling you based on this hit dice, this THACO should be 17. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. We'll do that. So we'll take it. And then you can see down here, Warg is level 4. That's his effective hit dice after the 3+3, and has 20 hit points. Now you can see he's got several macros in his own little selected option down here, selected window. Roll initiative, attack, health, ability check, save, and study prayer. The roll initiative here is individual initiative roll for this particular token. You can click roll initiative, and it will pop up with this. Give you an option of several default actions you can take, like he's going to charge. So you select charge, you add any modifiers, click OK, and you can see him pop up in the initiative box up here. And if you mouse over him now, you can see in the action section down there at the bottom, it says action charge. So you know whenever it comes to his initiative that he was going to charge somebody. PCs have the same thing, so you can see that as well. The attack box, you click on that and it pops up the attack window. And you can either roll initiative straight from there for that attack, or you can edit the attack. Say you want to give him a stronger bite, you could change it. You can make his attacks do more damage, or he gets bonuses or whatever. Or you can just click on bite directly, and it will roll an attack. Add modifiers, click OK. You see down here, he rolled a 10. The AC hit a 7 based on his THACO minus the roll he made, and this is the damage he did if he hit. And you can mouse over certain sections of this and it gives you a tooltip breakdown. The last one will tell you how it got all of those values. The health is how you adjust the creature's health. Like -5, he takes a hit for -5, and you notice the little bar drops. You see the window over here. He gets healed for say 6, and it goes back to max. Let's say he takes 21 points of damage from a fireball. and he dies. The big X goes across. You see the little down here in the window says the party has earned 150 XP, and this treasure value, which is not used right now. The XP is saved in a list, and so when you're done, you can click the earned rewards and see how much XP they've earned so far. So they've only killed him, so he was worth 150 XP. And we're going to cancel because we don't want to clear that. Want to bring him back to health, so we're going to give him 30 points of heal. That brings him back to 20. You can do ability checks, like if the warg wanted to do a opposed strength check versus the halfling. You do ability check, he's doing it versus strength, and we're going to say he gets a 2 modifier because he's larger than the halfling, so we'll give him a 2. And he made it. His adjusted roll, or his adjusted target was 12, so he started off with a base strength of 10. He got 12 because he's adjusted. He rolled a 9, and then so he made it by 3. And so you can do the check with the halfling, and whoever made it by most, or whoever succeeded by the most, would win the opposed strength check. Save is pretty simple. You're just saving versus whatever the type that you need to save versus, and it breaks down what those values are. So the last macro down here is study prayer. This is where you would set the spells that the NPC can cast. Click on that. Before we can memorize spells, we need to learn them. So click on learn. And this is kind of similar to the manage main section for spells library. You can switch to different levels. We're going to say these are the spells he knows. Again, you can mouse over these and you can get a tooltip on what they are. We'll start with, say, he knows sleep, and detect magic, and magic missile. Those are the ones he knows, not the ones he can cast yet. He hasn't memorized them. So you go back to the index, and we go to memorize spells. And now you can see that are highlighted, the ones that we can memorize. And I'm just going to say he can memorize, Harry memorizes magic missile twice, and sleep once. And you can do the same thing with divine spells. Once you learn them, you can do that. So now when you mouse over the token, you can see in the bottom left there's a spell section now. It says Magic Missile X2, Sleep X1. So you know that creature can cast that spell. And the way you cast them for now is you go, when it comes to his turn, you just click on the study prayer, you go to the memorize spell section, and you just click on the spell. And then you can see it pop up, Warg Cast Magic Missile. They can click on it, and it pops this up. And that covers all of the NPC. This is going to be a tutorial on how to use the initiative system from the DM side. Down here you can see in the campaign macros you have roll, next, and end. Roll is you select all the tokens you want to roll and go through the menus for it. Next cycles the initiative to the person who's next in line to go, and when it gets to a new round, they'll prompt everybody to reroll. End is what you press when the encounter is over. So what we'll do is we'll select all of our goblins like that, and then we're going to click roll for them. And all of them are going to charge with no modifiers. And you can see all their initiatives are getting rolled. They're getting put in the initiative table. Now we want to do the warg. We'll roll his initiative. He's going to charge also. And then our players should roll their own, but since they're not, we're going to roll for them. Let's see. Bernie is going to charge as well. Gachito is going to use his sling stone and attack range, and Blackfoot is going to cast a spell on the enemy. So when you mouse over them, you can see in the action section what their proposed action was. That's a little helpful. Alright, so now you're ready to go. After everybody's roll initiative, you click next or press F6. In this case, I'll press next. And then you'll notice the screen centered for the DM on the token, and highlighted it so that you would know who was going. On the PC side, all they'll see is the highlight. It doesn't move their screen. Unfortunately, there's not a way to make them automatically do that. Now, you can Maptools, base, and center player on current view and enforce them to the map. So you can press Control E, Control F, and that'll center them on your view. But it does, the macro itself doesn't do that automatically. And so you can see in chat it says Goblin number 2 with initiative 6. His action was charged. He's in round 1. He has initiative. Click next, and it goes to Blackfoot. He has initiative 6 as well. He's casting on enemy. Roll his initiative, do his initiative action, go to the next guy. And we can just go through all these guys, and you can see it just goes next to next to next next one. And lastly is our warg. Once it's done, the round is done, it'll pop up with this. And I'll put this up there on the off chance that you wanted to stop it from cycling to the next round for whatever reason. Say somebody forgot something. This is where you would say, okay, cancel. But in this case, we're ready, so we click OK. It clears out our initiative box, and everybody has to roll again. And we'll just do these guys real quick. And I should have done it. I'm just using the default values just so you can see how this stuff cycles. And then we'll click next once everybody's rolled initiative, and it starts over. Got Cheeto Gil. It's his turn. On initiative 1, his action is attack melee, and this is round 2. And then once you're done, you just click end combat, and it clears everything out, and you're back to the start. And that is how you use the initiative system. PC side is not much different. They would select their token and be using their sheet. And then in their combat section, they have an option to either roll initiative based on the weapon. Your weapon will have an initiative option. We can add one here. You can roll with a quarterstaff or with a staff, add the modifier, whatever. If out of normally this value will be filled by what the speed factor of the weapon is. Since I didn't set one, it's set to 0, so we'll set 4. And then you can see it says attack with staff, initiative 13. And if you mouse over it, you can see it says attack with staff also. Or you can just click roll initiative, and it gives them the base sort of drop downs and everything. And say he's going to flee, click OK. Boom, boom. And that's really the only difference between the PC